how was the transition from Accenture to a MAANG company been like? Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Preplaced Mentor Talks. I'm Rohan, founder and CTO at Preplaced, and I'm very excited to host Ravi with us today. Ravi is working as a cloud engineer at a MAANG company and has helped over 100 plus mentees to achieve their dream jobs. Uh, Today, in this session with Ravi, we are planning to dive deep into what cloud engineering is, break down cloud engineering interviews, and find out how to prepare for cloud engineering roles. But before we get started, Ravi, could you just quickly give intro to our viewers?
Rohan, hi. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much, Rohan, for having me here at Preplaced, and I'm glad I get got this opportunity to talk to the learners and share my experience and help them in their journey also. So, hey, everyone. I am Ravi, and I am currently working as cloud engineer would be a very specific term, but my role expands a bit. So I'm currently working as an SD on the systems and the cloud side in a MAANG company, and primarily I have worked with a couple of MAANG companies in my career. Earlier I was with Amazon, where I was involved with a bunch of teams, bunch of different domains and businesses, and worked on a variety of tech stack,
Mhm.
distributed systems, and cloud technologies primarily, and or AWS obviously. So I interacted with a lot of different AWS services, including VPC, EC2, S3, Lambda, and all those different things. Java and Python is something which I have been interacting or work on regular basis.
Mhm.
So, and I have been also associated with companies like Accenture and Oracle during the early stages of my career, and that has been precisely my journey. And I'm also an active mentor and educator, and already being at Preplaced, I have interacted with a lot of mentors, mentees, learners, and helped them in their journey. So here I am to share my journey and help all the other learners in their questions, whatever they might have.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, Ravi. Like, I think you've been mentoring with us for about 6 months now, if I'm not wrong, and we have already taken a lot of sessions, and like we've got a lot of reviews about how you've helped the mentees in their interview prep journey. So, just to dive a little deeper into your journey into the cloud engineering role, right? So I just like to know that how was the transition from Accenture to a MAANG company been like? Like, what were the challenges that you have faced, and like how is it different, like working for a service-based company, and then how is it different for a product-based company?
Sure. That's a good question, Rohan. In fact, that's one kind of question which I get very frequent or very often from several people whom I interact with, and several people who are looking for help. So, the journey, I would say, has been like a pretty fulfilling one for sure,
Mhm.
and it was never easy. But when I look at it in the hindsight, it's like I don't find it more challenging because I was more prepared for the journey ahead. So it was like I was during my first transition, which happened from Oracle to Amazon, like in transition into a MAANG company. I was actually never prepared. I was never looking out, to be very frank.
Mhm.
The opportunity did come along my way, and I'm thankful for that.
Mhm.
But then I did realize that there is a step up which needs to be done from the current work which I have been doing, and what the
Mhm.
expectations of the next company, or let's say Amazon, will be.
Yeah.
And I did do a bunch of refer to a bunch of resources, did my own preparations, referred to interview experiences, and prepared a set of topics which they are expecting, which they might be asking. I talked with the recruiter also on probable topics, probable areas what I should be preparing around.
Mhm.
And that's how the preparation went. And once I was through to the company, then the bigger challenge came, in fact, where adjusting to the
Yeah.
culture, adjusting to the kind of work happens. And first
Mhm.
year was pretty rough, to be very frank. And
Mhm.
as if I put it in the terms of the question, the transition was not easy, if I
Mhm.
would have to say in my terms, in my journey.
this is between the service based side to the product.
Product based, exactly. So I was still a bit on the, I would not exactly term it as a laid back approach, but I was still kind of in that mindset, I would say. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and but when the realization came across about the ownership, the responsibility, and now having spent after spending 6 years plus in Amazon, and I am looking at in the hindsight, I have gained a lot from that. Although it was kind of a bumpy thing in initial phases, but once I got hold of that thing, Rohan, I think then I understood what it takes, and how you should be performing to be at that level and excelling at that level.
Yeah, correct. So, like, if I'm not wrong, like you made your transition from Accenture to Oracle and then to Amazon, right? So, and you mentioned that you were fortunate enough to get a interviewing opportunity at Amazon, right? So, did this happen like with the recruiters directly approached you when you were working at Oracle, and then they scheduled the interview for you, and that is how you got the opportunity, or like you were just like looking for jobs and then randomly it popped up? And
Yeah, so so actually, yeah, I mean, just I was actually restless,
mm,
in the sense that you were talking about the same points which you were thinking of discussing, so that's why I interrupted you. But yeah, it happened. I mean, just taking back a bit what I said just now, actually I was looking in a very soft mode on the job hunt. I
mm,
was not aggressively looking.
correct,
So
correct.
at least still on that matter, I remember, it's been 7 years, so I
Mm,
still remember that I did update my profiles on job portals and all,
mm,
and that made the recruiters reach out to me,
correct.
and that's how it happened that the opportunity came and I went through it.
Yeah, and like again, like as you've mentioned, like it's been 7 years since you've done that, right? And like you spent a good amount of years in Amazon, right? So you might have worked with a lot of teams. I think that is one of the key challenges, like which you face there, like working for multiple teams rather than a service-based approach. Like, is that fair to call out?
Okay, so the not exactly fair in the sense, but so in fact, I should have talked about this point because you asked this question earlier also. So yes, talking about the difference between a service-based and a product-based approach, what I will point out more here is that the mindset is the major difference or the major challenge which has to be tackled, and it only happens till the time you get adjusted to that work environment. So if I just talk out, call out a bit of the differences, what happens in a service based, and also just for the understanding of a general viewer, whoever is seeing the video.
Yes,
So service based companies, product based companies, as the name itself says, they have a product of their own. Okay,
correct.
they have a platform of their own, and that's why they are called product based company. They don't depend on anyone else.
Yeah.
Service based companies, on the other hand, they might or might not have their own product,
Mm,
but majorly the major revenue is from clients or the services which they are providing,
correct.
right?
Yeah.
Now here, as you see, client, the dependency is coming to picture, right? So
Mm,
project wise, there was one thing that in product based, you are never short of work. Actually, you
oh,
always are bound to get onto some project, some
yeah.
other work, or you are free to take your own initiatives also, by the way. Okay,
Yeah.
that's one thing. You see, okay, the current product, there is a feature of scope,
Mm,
or there is a scope of improvement. You go out, you pitch out your idea,
mm.
prepare a proof of concept, and yes, you are the owner. All right.
Yeah, because you're working for the company, so it's
Right.
not a service which you're providing. So yeah, like any even like extra work which you put in is always appreciated, right?
Absolutely.
It's because it's
In
within the product.
in fact, an extra data point on this particular factor, that did you initiate anything in your performance reviews, actually, how good of an ownership did you show on the
Yeah,
projects which you're handling, right?
yeah,
So they encourage it. that's that's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
one major difference,
That's
what I will say.
like as you mentioned that the mindset is a shift, right? Like between these two. So
Right.
yeah, so for all the viewers like who would like to know more about Ravi's journey, you can check out Ravi's profile. We have added in the description. You guys could just go through his profile and see his entire journey in detail. So Ravi, like coming to your role, right? Like you mentioned it as SD, or like you can call it SRE, cloud engineer, right? Like I think like it's a relatively newer role, right? Like which just come up recently. I'll say 6 7 years probably is something of a fair timeline where the tech stack has come in, especially like the latest tech stack like Kubernetes and stuff has come in fairly recently into it, right? So
Right.
I just like to know, like, what according to you is your role, or like, can you help the viewers understand what a cloud engineer does, or what a cloud engineer role means?
Sure, Ron. So, see, I mean, uh, again, my role is a bit of a kind of, it stretches on different, or it touches different software
Mm,
engineering paradigms. So, I would
mm,
not I would not go more specific into my role, because it is
mm,
also involved with design, development. In fact, also
mm,
kind of where I get to work on the back end. And right now, there's a project where I'm getting to work on React framework also. Okay. But if I talk in general, if I talk
mm,
put things into perspective of what exactly is a cloud engineer, okay,
mm,
or an SRE, or those things and all. So see, cloud engineers are basically the professionals who are responsible for designing, developing, and maintenance, troubleshooting, and all these things around the cloud infrastructure specifically.
correct.
Okay.
Mm,
So we all are aware of cloud things like AWS is a major player there. Then there is
correct.
Microsoft Azure, then Google Cloud Platform, and
Mm,
there are a bunch of other small players also. But these are the major market
mm, mm,
public clouds, right?
mm,
Now, on a daily basis, cloud engineers are responsible for all these the software related activities like the design, development, maintenance, troubleshooting of all the infrastructure in the cloud. That's primary core role what a cloud engineer does. Okay. Now
mm,
they, while doing all this, they work for clients also. Sometimes they have certain projects, certain stakeholders, and they
mm,
have to maintain the communication also
mm,
about all these activities to the stakeholders. If there are
mm,
any blockers, what are the progress, what are the ETAs, and all those different things. Okay.
mm, mm,
And if again, just talking a bit more about cloud engineers, so they combine various roles. It's like it's a bigger umbrella, the cloud engineer, and there are different roles under it.
got it.
Okay. And each role emphasizes a particular kind of cloud computing, if I have
Yeah.
to talk about. Okay.
Okay.
uh, and in fact, if I talk about some of them, there are cloud architects kind of a role, there are
Mm,
cloud developers kind of a role. Okay.
mm,
Then system administrators are also there within the cloud space also. Okay.
correct. Correct.
So there are a bunch of roles, and day-to-day tasks might include like migration activities, like
Mm,
migration from your on-premise infrastructure to the cloud infrastructure. Then
mm,
configuring or creating a new cloud infrastructure for maybe a new project or an existing
mm,
application with a new feature. Okay. And creating applications, creating databases, and performing databases on the cloud. Okay.
mm,
Monitoring, troubleshooting the issues which occur around your cloud application. So all these are a bunch of activities what you can expect a cloud engineer to do.
correct. So, like, what I'm hearing is that you mentioned it sort of like an umbrella of various roles that can come within a cloud engineer, right? So, like, I'm summing it as anything and everything related to cloud is what a cloud engineer can do, right? I think that that should be a fair summation. So,
Yes.
Ravi, you mentioned like you have worked even on the front end side, like for example, you have been working React, right, recently, and so like what according to you are the key skills like which are required for a cloud engineer? Like definitely cloud would be one part of it, but like still I just like to know more of your insights on that.
So, Rohan, so see, if I talk about certain key skills, so cloud again, if we every one of
Mm,
us know who are there in the IT industry, is that it's nothing but it provides you shared resources, shared
mm,
computing resources on demand actually. So
mm,
the operating system knowledge is actually a really good skill to have. Okay.
mm, mm,
I mean, you should be good at troubleshooting technical issues, know a round of technical issues. You should have good grasp, or you should have worked on a maybe a uh, how should I put it, in a system level concept where you are understanding the end to end flow of how the request goes through the system, how it gets
correct, correct.
processed, how the
Mm,
results get driven, and all. So you having interacted with different parts of the system definitely help. It's a
correct.
good skill to have. Okay.
Mm,
Again, nothing like you should be a good at front end or a back end, nothing like a
mm,
very specific thing, but in general you should be knowing how the system is performing. Okay. How
mm,
you are measuring the system. Okay. uh,
mm,
and I'm talking all this from a cloud perspective. So uh, major as I said, AWS is a major player. So, for example, I'm just giving an example that if you are good, or if you have worked on or have a knowledge about how do you interact with an EC2 instance? Okay,
Mm.
how do you measure certain metrics around EC2 instance? How do you set up a CloudWatch alarm? Okay, so
Correct.
if you have those are the kind of skill that are being looked at. Okay, if you have worked on, and I'm not talking in general, not necessarily AWS. You can be good at Microsoft Azure also. You can
Azure.
be doing the same thing on Google Cloud platform
Correct.
also.
Correct.
But you should be knowing, not with a specific person, but a specific platform. But you should be knowing in general that, okay, in general, what are the things or what are the expectations? How I could be measuring this particular thing, or what are the alarms to be set?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have those kind of skills, those kind of knowledge, you can showcase that to the potential employer that yes, I
Yes.
have that thought process.
Mm-hmm.
They're good skills to have. Talking from a technical perspective also, like problem solving and troubleshooting are also expected, like
Mm-hmm.
scripting. Even some companies or some roles like mine also requires data structures kind of a knowledge. Okay,
Got it. Got it.
not to a very deep level like how an SD does, but yes, they are
Mm-hmm.
expected. So problem solving is also a good skill to have.
Got it. Got it.
So yes.
So I guess like what you're mentioning about even DSA here is the fact that you need basic level of DSA, right, in order to become a cloud engineer, not for example a level of an SD at a MAANG company. Like the interviews are not scheduled around cracking DSA interviews, right? It's more uh, like wide. Is it fair to say that it's more wide? That you'll be covering scripting, you'll be covering cloud, you'll be covering even monitoring, logging, and stuff, right? Even OS at times, right? So, would it be fair to say that it's a much wider interview as compared to a traditional SD interview?
Yes, you can put it in that perspective. Again, but it depends on the role and the companies also, many
Mm-hmm.
a times. So as I said, my role, the interviews were around problem solving and data structure
Mm-hmm.
focused. Where they were looking for efficient solution and
Mm-hmm.
optimized solution. All, but that's not the case everywhere. So you can, if people
Uh-huh.
who are maybe getting worried about that, they're not good at those things. You can still relax because there are a bunch of roles out there which are not looking into that depth or that kind of an extreme
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. Okay, so,
Mm-hmm.
and but having a fair share of knowledge around data structure helps, not a compulsion, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
More of, I would say, if you are looking in a general perspective to cracking some kind of a role or a good role at a good company also,
Mm-hmm.
these log analysis I would suggest. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
having a working knowledge with files, or how do you analyze, read files, interpret the data. So
Mm-hmm.
I tend to be going towards something like a data related role also, but
Mm-hmm.
again, data engineers or data roles do a lot of other stuffs also. But you should be good around analyzing things. Okay, if you have a log related stream, how do you analyze and pick out what is the pattern, what are the system, how are the system behaving? You are able to take out the result out of that. So these are
Mm-hmm.
the questions you can expect, that you will be given a file, you will be given a certain log file, and you'll be asked to derive certain results from that log file. Okay,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
so those are the kind of programming related things you'll be expected in the interview.
Mhm. So basically, like what you're saying is that we can like kind of excel in either one of it, right? Even if you're good at monitoring and like kind of have the knowledge across the stack, you'd be still be able to get through an interview. Would that be a good call to point out, right? Like you can excel at one of these things and just have a basic knowledge, like in order to get into an entry level cloud role.
Yeah. Yeah, so basic knowledge, when I say, I would emphasize having a basic knowledge on scripting or file related operations would
Yeah.
would would be able to do good enough in certain places, most of the places I would suggest. Okay,
Mhm.
but yes, you cannot negotiate on the fact that you are expected to have good knowledge on the application side, where
Mhm.
the monitoring, or how do you build a good resilient reliable system, those ideas, those design related thought process. Okay, maybe I'll have something like these kind of monitoring setup or that kind of monitoring setup, or I will have certain kind of this load balancer here in front of the system. So when I'm talking about MAANG company specifically, you can, the areas you can focus on is having a good design related perspective also. Now I'm
Uh-huh.
not talking about designing it from scratch, but design related perspective, that you
Yeah.
should be able to point out the flaws in the system. Okay,
Mhm.
that how can you make a system more available or resilient, reliable, all those things. Okay, and
Mhm.
then you should be from MAANG perspective, you are expected to be good at decent level, good at coding.
Mhm.
When I say decent to medium level, I mean, so
Mhm.
you should be able to give them a result, solution,
Right.
and you should be able to tell out the time complexity of your solution. And if you are able to give them an efficient solution, nothing beats that. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you can do without that also, but if
Mm.
you are able to give that, nothing beats that. You are certainly guaranteeing your position. Okay.
Yeah, got that one. And Ravi, like I think in the middle of the answer you mentioned using different clouds, right? Like you used AWS, Azure, GCP. So like this is one of my favorite questions which I like to ask every cloud engineer. Like which, according to you, is your favorite cloud, and why so? Like why do you find that particular cloud interesting? And like I think your answer might be a little biased on Amazon, but I'll still let you pick one.
Yeah, Ron. Actually, you did pick up my mind here. Yeah, I do like the Amazon AWS thing slightly more.
Mhm,
I had very beginner level exposure to Azure,
mhm,
and I have started to look into GCP recently.
mhm,
But and that's why, since I have don't have much exposure, so yes, I will be going towards Amazon. But
mhm,
having said that, there are still some reasons why I prefer the AWS thing, and I will encourage others also to look into the AWS side, is because first thing is AWS is the market leader. And when I say being the market leader, so look at it from the business perspective, is that a lot of companies are utilizing AWS services. And
mhm,
what that means is that there are a lot of opportunities which these companies will be looking for AWS professionals. Okay.
mhm.
Because
Right.
they're already working on AWS, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
that gives you more opportunity in AWS. So
mhm.
opportunity wise, if you're looking, AWS is preferred.
Yeah,
But yes,
especially
having
like the startups and all which are coming up, they primarily have AWS set up, right? So
right.
you can easily get into. Yeah, I get that point. Yeah,
Yes,
interesting something.
but and in fact, but having said that, let me not discourage others. In fact,
Mm,
I don't even in fact I don't believe in this thing. That's everyone should go for AWS. No, nothing like that. I'm an advocate of that. But
mhm.
I'm very open, and I encourage people that please go and explore other clouds also, because they are equally good. I mean,
Correct.
Azure is picking up pace
Yeah,
pretty good recently, right?
yeah, yeah.
And there are a lot of demands, a lot of opportunities out there for Azure engineers also.
Yes, yes.
So what I'm trying to imply here, Rohan, is that people should not be focusing on this part, that okay, which cloud I should pick.
Mm,
Will that decide my job or not? What you should be focusing on is the core technology behind this. So
good.
if let's say, for example, I'm talking about S3 in AWS. So
Mm.
S3 is a simple file storage service, simple
Correct,
storage
correct.
service, right?
Object-based storage, yeah.
Yeah, there are equivalents of S3 in Azure. There are equivalent of S3 in Google Cloud Platform.
Correct,
You
correct,
should not be focusing on S3, but you should be focusing on that technology, the object technology. Okay, what feature does it brings to you? Okay,
correct.
what problem is it solving? So you
Mm-hmm.
should be focusing from that perspective from an interview. And
Mm.
yes, certain roles do demand. I cannot deny that they do look out. Hey, if you have Azure experience, I will prefer that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
true.
cannot deny that fact that there are certain very specific rules, but then there are generic roles also. Like for example, if you are experienced with AWS, and
Mm-hmm.
the other role which you are looking at, if that looks for the, okay, they are looking for Azure related thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if you're able to display or give them the confidence that having worked in a cloud platform, you will easily accommodate or adapt to the new platform. I think that's good enough for them. They should be feeling
Yeah, correct.
confident that cloud technology, you're adaptable.
Yeah, yeah, because like even if you move from one cloud to another, I think like the learning curve would be pretty like manageable, right? Like you'd be
Right.
able to like as far as you know the technology working behind it, yeah, it's easier to transition.